Hey everyone, Drew here with a quick review of this new dark stealth unit, Angel Jeanne. What do I think of her and which tier do I think she will go to in my arena tier list? We will get to that, but first let's kick it off with the AI analysis. Now on the threat level side, we see several modifiers already 20% higher if she has the stealth status effect. Then we also see another 15% increase if she was in combat for 300 time units or more already. And then we have two modifiers that are actually dependent on whether or not she already has used her Survivor's Rush. If she hasn't, then her hate lowers by 15%. If she has, then her hate actually increases by 50%. And that is quite a lot considering that her time in combat hate modifier will also be active, and most likely the is stealth will also be active, especially after she had just used the Survivor's Rush. With all three active together, her hate level will be above 200%, and that is, of course, very big, and it is a nerf to her because of that Mikaela's rescue passive, which kind of means that if you are facing a very strong enemy, you might actually prefer her to die before she uses the Survivor's Rush. Speaking about using skills, let's look at the skill weights, which she prefers to use first. I mean, Dark Spirit is kind of her fallback skill. That makes a lot of sense. Basic 1.0 weight. For all the other skills, she actually needs Spirit at first, even though they can produce a significant amount of Spirit afterwards. The Stealth Zone has a 1.5 weight here, and it actually increases further if, for example, there is a sleeping stealth striker ally, which makes a lot of sense. The Stealth Ravager has a 0.7 weight here, however, it increases further, for example, if she is enraged. And then we have the Survivor's Rush, and it has a 6.66 weight. How imaginative. However, looking at this, you might think, okay, she will use the Survivor's Rush whenever she has the option to. However, there's a big modifier in the back, and I think that is actually helping her. If certain conditions are met, even if she is already having the Survivor's Rush unlocked and she has 2 Spirit or more, she will not use it anyway and prefer, for example, the Stealth Ravager instead. When does this happen? Usually if your team spirit is 5 or lower and Angel Jeanne still has 25% HP or more. Why is this clever for her? I mean, the Survivor's Rush is an instant skill and it heals her and gives her a lot of nice stuff, but it is a single target attack. And if you have less than 5 spirit, you will not be able to use the Stealth Ravager afterwards, which does have 2 targets and also doesn't unlock, or rather disable, the Mikaela's rescue to the reinforcements. So let's see what we have with this new Angel Jeanne. Of course, stealth is struggling a lot this year. Permanently, things are being released that are hurting stealth, so it seems a bit interesting that they are now trying to refocus it. I can appreciate the effort because, I mean, it seems like they want to balance it out a bit. However, I don't know if it's enough, but damn, this is a great help to stealth, and obviously, in my eyes, the very best stealth unit around right now. The 30% quicken for stealth units is great, but even more importantly, this kind of stealth shield mechanic actually gives stealth a fighting chance now against things like burn or sleep. It's not as good as a ward, of course, because as soon as the unit loses the stealth status, the shield is also gone with it. But for example, stealth attacks against someone like Sleeping Beauty or a unit that has thorns will no longer result in an immediate falling to sleep for the attacking unit. So that's already really helpful. And similarly, burn status cannot screw up the hold ground so quickly or easily, and so on and so forth. In general, getting slapped is not that problematic for Angel Jeanne before she unlocks her, or before she uses her Survivor's Rush, because if she dies from, for example, a nightmare attack, she will just be put back into the reinforcements anyways. And being asleep, obviously, she cannot use the Survivor's Rush until she wakes up again. For a similar reason, stun is also not that much of an issue. Before she unlocks the Survivor's Rush, she might get stunned a lot. And I mean, that makes sense because she is a great stealth support. So if she has another stealth unit on the team, you might actually want to disable her. However, if you kill her before she gets the turn and actually uses the Survivor's Rush, the stun or the sleep might have been wasted, especially if this happens very quickly afterwards. Why is it wasted? Because if she gets back to the reinforcement and enters once again, the entry effects are really just amazing. I mean, besides the point of speeding up the stealth units on the team, we have that light speed entry, we have that spirit plus entry, and we have the shadow entry, gaining her immediately the stealth effect. And what that means is she can come onto the battlefield and immediately use a very powerful stealth ravager, completely spirit neutral. Or if she comes on the battlefield and she has some stealth allies, I think she will most likely use the stealth zone, giving all the stealth allies the stealth shield. Oh, and also important is that she gets fully healed, so she will get to the battlefield with 100% HP every time. And of course, yet again, it will take some time until she actually unlocks the Survivor's Rush and potentially uses it, which then will disallow her from being rescued by Mikaela. However, she can still be reset by, for example, someone like Storm Mikaela, which might be an interesting combo to look out for. But anyways, at some point she will probably use the Survivor's Rush, and that will basically mean that she has one more full stealth heal in her, which is nice because the Endure should definitely guarantee her getting that even if she is poisoned or burning. Of course, it doesn't help her against Fatal Frenzy or Regal Eclipse though. In any case, after she is in that Survivor's Rush phase, she is still not to be underestimated. Yes, her hate is very high at that point, most likely, but in any case, she is very, very Cinderella-like at that point, because she can also combo nicely this kind of instant survivor skill that actually does even more than for Cinderella, because Angel Jeanne actually gets the stealth status effect as well from it, and even more importantly, the stealth shield every time. And yes, she cannot combo it quite as perfectly with the Hypnoblast as Cinderella with the constant back and forth. However, she has some other really nice features to combine this with. Keep in mind that she gets the stealth status effect after that Survivor's Rush. So in 99% of the cases, she will actually get the 40% quicken on the next turn. And then if she doesn't really have enough spirit, she can do the Dark Spirit that costs her 60 time units, which is just 10 time units longer than the lock of the Survivor's Rush. Or alternatively, the Stealth Ravager, which is gonna be just under 100 time units. Yes, that's quite a bit longer than something like the Hypnoblast. However, it does deal massively more damage as well. Yes, it cannot put enemies to sleep, but it is an attack that attacks 2, and that is a very, very big feature, especially in times where we have more and more indestructible guards. In general, with the Stealth Ravager and the Stealth Zone, we really have skills here that actually cost spirit, but if you have some stealth units on your team, then the spirit production would actually be not too bad. And again, with the Dark Spirit, she has some capabilities of producing a good amount of spirit herself. Keep in mind that this is then just 60 time units for 4 spirit. So in terms of attack output, I actually prefer Angel Jeanne over Cinderella here. The problem though is, as I said before, that her hate is much higher, and Cinderella will in this phase possibly still have 2 Hold Crown pluses in her. Another thing is, Angel Jeanne might be more susceptible to something like the Regal Eclipse because she sometimes goes back to the reinforcements. Cinderella will be safer because once she gets a kill, she will keep it and be immovable. However, that also means that you have a bit more freedom for Angel Jeanne in terms of where you place her. And the thing about Angel Jeanne is that in the first phase, before her Survivor's Rush, she will already be able to potentially help you much more. Already putting out some powerful stealth Ravagers, or putting your team into the stealth zone, or producing some Dark Spirit. All quite nice. Of course, the only possibility for Cindy in this phase is really to just keep hypnoblasting and potentially putting some enemies to sleep. Of course, Cindy also has the Veil Breaker, which is one of the main weaknesses in terms of stealth builds right now. So this is why I'm a bit struggling to actually estimate how good or prevalent Angel Jeanne will be, because Cinderella, of course, is still the most prevalent unit in the entire game because she's just so universal. And her getting another turn whenever she hits stealth units is, of course, not a good matchup if you have a stealth team. Another possible weakness that I see of Angel Jeanne is poison, or more specifically the very strong super poison or mega poison. The thing is, Mikaela's rescue only works if Angel Jeanne would be defeated by an attack, which poison is not. However, of course, she does have the stealth shield, so to actually happen, this possibly needs to be applied 2 times, at least if she has used the stealth zone yet. And keeping on the topic of stealth, Spirit might be a little bit of an issue with her outside of a stealth team. Yes, the stealth zone and the stealth Ravager produce Spirit potentially, or are at least Spirit neutral in the right circumstances. But outside of it, she eats quite a lot of Spirit. Yes, she can also provide a bit of Spirit with the Dark Spirit attack, but it's another potential problem if you are using her outside of a stealth team, which is still an option, I think. Anyways, one more thing that I just thought about, which is kind of nice, is of course that the Dark Spirit attack also potentially acts as a life flip. So if she is, for example, on her Endure during the Survivor's Rush, and she's not poisoned or anything like that, and she gets the turn and there isn't enough Spirit to actually use the Survivor's Rush, then she can still use the Dark Spirit and regain 100% HP, which is a possible advantage over someone like Cinderella. In terms of placement, I would probably use her after your guard train has finished to have her a bit more exposed and combine her with some other stealth units. I'm still thinking or considering pulling at least one copy myself just for the kind of combination value with someone like Earth Ossia or Earth Musha. I don't hate the idea of placing her in a first platoon with other stealth units, but I'm not convinced that in the current meta that is the most suitable tactic for many battles. And now coming to the tier prediction, this is also a major caveat. I mean, as you noticed, maybe during going through these skills, she does have a super strong skill set. Both her actives and her passives are great. I mean, a bit of a sad fact is that we don't see a Mikaela summon at all. I think this is the first Jeanne that doesn't have that, and interestingly enough, she's also the first Jeanne where Mikaela is on every single picture, so all 3 of them, which is a bit weird given that she basically only shows up if you do the Survivor's Rush, or if you do, well, technically not really show up, but if her Mikaela's rescue activates. But yeah, most of the true carrots think that she will go to the SS tier, and I think she has possibly what it takes for it. However, I do have to agree with some of the other votes and go with an S tier prediction for now. I do think she has a lot of what it takes to be a top tier unit, but after the releases of Stormclaris and King Arthur, just not enough if she brings enough to the table, especially with Cinderella still running around so much. Stealth is not in the best spot. But to be fair, it really gets harder and harder for me to do these tier predictions, given all these kind of interdependencies with the kind of team build types. I mean, most of the newest units actually have some kind of conditions for certain other unit types. I would love to see a bit of a stealth resurgence, honestly, given also my team build, but I'm not fully convinced yet. By the way, I did look up the pronunciation of Jeanne finally, and while it is a French name, that is actually Jeanne, Jeanne, the English pronunciation does seem to be Jeanne, so I'm gonna stick with that for now. Thanks to Nizetto and LensJS for the visuals used in this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe to become a true carrot, and as always, thanks for watching.